Here we are in another section which is really important, and we're going to start with listening. Listening can be one of the hardest aspects of anything you do with Connecting Point or guest services or in normal conversation. But listening is the most valuable thing you can have, the most valuable tool you can have in interacting with any person that comes into Connecting Point. It values the people. It shows that you care, and you should care about what they have to say. One of the hugest, biggest things that you can do while you're listening is listen to every single word they're saying. I don't know about you. I know Sonny probably does this. You think ahead to your response with people. You don't get the 100% of the words they're sharing with you. And I have to fight against this as a spirit of self-control that we need to exhibit as we're in Connecting Point. We have to control ourselves and listen and not try to work a good response back to people. God will give you that response. He's working. He's doing his part. You need to sit and listen to every word they say because they're all super important and very valuable. Okay? So, what are some good habits to do while listening other than listening to every single word? We need to give some good nonverbal cues. You know, in the Midwest, we acknowledge things like that. We shake our heads. We say, that's a verbal cue. But we show people that we're engaged and we're understanding what they're saying. We aren't stoic or stone-faced as they talk to us. We want to know, and that's good personal engagement as they are talking. We may need to paraphrase or restate or summarize what's being said. And it's really good for you because that makes you have to listen to what they're saying. So if you paraphrase saying, and what I hear you saying is, or you give a summary of what they're saying, it helps them understand that you heard what they said and makes you understand that you heard what they said too. You might need to draw out a person by using phrases like, "That's interesting, tell me more about that. I'm not sure I fully understand you. Can you elaborate?" And these are important questions and very important if you're listening well because there's going to be key words or phrases that they use in describing maybe their past church experience, or they're trying to figure out who Jesus is, and they might frame some terms in particular ways that show some maybe places of hurt, or you can understand where they're coming from. And when you hear those words or phrases and you get them to elaborate on that, it could open up the floodgates. It can open up their heart. It can open that spot where Jesus is just going to rest and give peace. But you have to listen well and elaborate on those things to be successful there. Then ask questions to fully understand what they're saying. Words bring meaning and action. And we use words in different ways. We could say cool, which could be like cold, or it could be awesome.
Like me.
Yeah, like Sonny Woolard. Words that are the same can bring different meanings. And we need to make sure we're all using the same terms because they can be explaining something about Jesus, which you're nodding your head, but they are actually saying something completely different than what you are understanding them telling you. So make sure you're asking good questions, you're catching those words, you're listening well, because it's going to be absolutely important and vital to that conversation that you're having. So how long should the conversation last? No more than 15 minutes, 20 minutes max if things get intense. We do that because there might be other people we need to talk to, but people need to go on with their day. You need to go on with your day. And a good way to make sure you're keeping it down is not interject a bunch of your own personal stories, not try to tell a lot about yourself. It's about them at that point. We need to make sure we're listening and valuing them. We don't need to tell them anything else about us. So we can get to know them and become friends later on, which will be awesome because that's relationship outside of that environment. But we need to make sure we get all their information, interact with them at that point, and let it be all about them at that point. And that'll limit the time, and you can get a little bit more to the point of why they're there.
I want to add a couple of things to that, Tony. They might also have kids that they need to pick up from the children's area.
For sure.
And I've seen children's workers carrying kids around, dragging around the church looking for the parent. So that we need to be respectful of their time, our workers' times as well. I do want to say, if we do interject something, it is good on a couple of levels. One is it may be a bridge that I get to build because we have something really cool in common, and so it can add to the conversation and break down those walls. But like Tony was saying, if we do interject, those things can be good, but we want to keep those short because it is about them. But there is value to saying, hey, I race motorcycles too. I love it. So tell me a little bit, and turn it right back over to them. That gets it done.
Yeah, that's awesome. The other good thing in any communication is eye contact. I have a bad habit of looking around and seeing other people that I know I'm kind of expecting to be there at church that Sunday. And I have to really control myself from doing that and make sure that my eyes are engaged into that conversation. Good, confident eye contact needs to be made with people the whole time. When you're greeting, especially, because you get a chance to really look at them and see where they're coming from, because you can see if they're excited or if they're scared or if they're hurting. You get that good eye contact. You can get a good read on people. But it's not staring contest either, right? Now, first one blinks has to leave, okay? We don't want to be awkward about it, but we want to make sure we're engaging well with our eyes because it makes them feel valued. And if we have good eye contact, we can continue to read people as we move on. We can see if they get tense, maybe something we said kind of made them tense up or relaxed them, or they're nervous, and it might be rubbing on their legs or whatever the case is. If you have good eye contact, you can see a million things just through what they do with their eyes. You can see into their soul and what their soul is wrestling with. So you need to make sure you're keeping good eye contact.
That kind of leads into this next section on reading people, and this is really nonverbal communication that we're talking about here. And flipping back to where the session started with us giving verbal and some with the head nod. One of the things that we can do is really to lean forward and to be engaged and not look bored, of course, but we can give some nonverbal cues and verbal cues as well that we're listening. But we need to make sure, like Tony was saying, watch people and look for their cues. Because they're sending us a lot of messages. If it's just voices that we hear, we get a message. But man, if we can see some things in their eyes and their mannerisms, that's telling us a whole lot more behind the scenes. And maybe it'll indicate some areas where we need to press into them a little bit, because we see just what happens with their face when they start with a story or when we say something. So there's a few things that I've listed here. Tapping their fingers, you're going too slow, you're bored, they're bored. It's like, come on, you're not going to see much of that stuff. But, watching their eyes, the scrunch their eyes, they're not buying it, they're thinking, they have a question, their eyes light up, and it's like you've really connected there. The smile, again, they're saying, I'm connecting, I'm hearing what you're saying. A positive head nod from them as well. Rubbing their hands, stress, or their legs like Tony was talking, or shaking, or just getting nervous. It means we're pushing some buttons there. Leaning back, looking bored, losing them. Your topic's not their topic. I've seen some of these conversations literally last an hour and a half. And, we talked about respecting people's times, and the conversation should be 15, maybe 20 minutes, whatever. And I put that in because, I've seen some of these conversations last way too long. Leaning forward means they're with you, they're tracking with you, pursed lips, you're taking too long, they start looking around, it's like, I need to get somewhere else, this conversation's really over, you're still talking, but I'm done listening. So it's important to really watch people's mannerisms and hear what they're telling you through that. The next section that we'll end the session with is the handshake. I'm sure almost everyone listening to this has had the dead fish experience. I did just a few weeks ago, where you just shake somebody's hand and it's just totally limp. No grip to it at all. So our handshake needs to be very firm. And also I want to show you this. It needs to be side to side. I don't want to go in like this. This is a power play that some people some people do to psychologically say, I'm better than you, whatever it is. So we just want the handshake to be good and solid, and a couple of good shakes right there. Also, one-handed, when people do this, or do this, or whatever it is. Okay, it's just a one-handed handshake, and it's a good, firm way to start your relationship with this person in your time
And
with
don't
them.
squeeze too early, right?
Yeah, it's
you
like,
want to pinch off the
yeah,
fingers.
it's like, oh man, I didn't get in there, and I feel like such a toad.
That's weird.
So yeah, just make sure that's good. So maybe we ought to have a 2-hour session on how to shake hands. I don't know. Anyway, that's that for now. We're going to break, and then there are other sessions you can watch. So hope you enjoyed that and got something out of that. Thanks.